Herman Watson stands on the cusp of starting a dynasty of dominance. He's still only 25 years old, yet he is already the #1 ranked cyclist on the continent. But for the type of rider Watson is, he's not truly the best until he wins the Tour of Gasmea. However, Niels Meyer retired. Gerhard Horn retired. The only active rider that has won the Tour of Gasmea is Wilhelm Wagner, and he's not even in this field. All of this is to say that this tour is Herman's coronation if we can just beat out Weiss. And as for the stage, I think going max out with Ward is actually for the best. He will be able to jag the first stage victory, right? Yes. Because the rest of our riders weren't quite fast enough to go into the 8 and have it be a net benefit, but Ward having that little bit extra kick on the flat and downhill means we take the first stage. The time gaps otherwise are insignificant at this point in the tour. What's going to matter is what happens on stage 4. And there may be some gaps opening up before then too. Things getting very busy at the front now with this final climb to come. Herman Weiss is going to be our main rival in this tour, but I think he's already made a slight mistake by being at the front way earlier than us. Especially if he's also wasting energy by going into the relay. I think he'll get away with it this time because he has 7 recovery. But if this overzealousness to be in the relay becomes a trend, it could be what we need to overcome his +3 in mountain. And sometimes I wish I'd gone pure climber with Herman Watson, but then I realized that that would have also meant a -1 in technical and cobble. As for the sprint, this race wasn't selective enough. We have too many sprinters ahead of us, and I think staying here is our best bet in case Sean Watson decides to open up. It worked out better than I was expecting. It was actually Aubert who made the biggest move, and we're just going to be able to sprint over all of them. Bruce Phillips takes the win though. But that's still a better result for Pavlov than we would normally expect him to get, given that he's still a long way away from getting that true cobble puncher type of rider, because it's actually very difficult to gain that last level up to reach your rider's cap. And I believe this is actually a bug. It's not supposed to be this slow, even though it is supposed to be slower than the levels that came before it. But what that means is that Watson and Pavlov are effectively at their maximum level already, unless we want to spend a couple more seasons grinding. Now the upside for us is that this unintended soft cap applies to AI riders as well, so there are no level 12s in this field, they're only level 11s. We got an attack on the road, Jonas Winter, but how many nodes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it would be 8 back here. I do not believe in that attack. And indeed, it's almost certainly getting closed down because they've only 1 node ahead now. This is a very rough finish because we have to ride through the flat section. We can't stop here. And it's all come back together before the final climb. So a straight sprint uphill, and if that's the case, I think Weiss has this. We'll have to see if this is good enough for Ward to keep the yellow jersey. Watson is just able to follow the big group. And since he had plenty of attack points to spare, we might as well go for a podium finish as well. Chris Ward does indeed hold on to the leader's jersey for now, but he will have to relinquish it on this next stage because there's no way he's getting up this final climb. So it looks like the first 4 on that stage will also be the first 4 at the end of the tour. Fournier and Efimovic don't have the mountain, and Torres is only on a minor peak. And the first thing I'm thinking of on a stage this long is do not spend attack points. See, this move already is too much. We're going to drop. But that might not have been such a good idea because if the peloton can make it to here in 2 turns, we kind of have to be back. Otherwise, we're going to lose too much ground to be able to make it back up. Okay, that move on the other hand is definitely dumb. I want no part of it. This stage is actually insane. I was expecting a casual start, maybe ramping up on this second to last climb, but they've decided to just bury everyone immediately. We'll definitely catch them before the next climb. Sanders and Bahayev are out of attack points already. But what all of these shenanigans have done is completely drain the peloton of attack points, meaning we have to go up immediately. Not to the absolute front with everyone, mind you. It's still way too early. But P2, just so that we can react quicker if there is a split. Through all of this chaos, we're seeing a lot of riders who would normally be content to wait till the end try their luck. Fausto Grassi in the front group, and we have Torres here in group 2. E2, however, aborted their move. There was still too many nodes to go, and you wanted the assistance of the peloton to at least until this climb, where I think things are going to actually break apart now. I'm not entirely certain if I want to commit to this move, but I just removed Bruno up there. I figure, in for a penny, in for a pound. The field can probably catch us at the top of this climb if they push it. I've got a 6-3 now, and now Pavlov comes around with a 6-4. But I've got to admit that in not wanting to burn any attack points in this stage, I might have neglected my energy because we didn't get as much slipstream as Weiss when he was still in the peloton, and he's got 46 versus my 19. And whilst we can still take the lead of the stage for now, the question is, how long are we going to hold on? Well, the answer is not long. Weber caught back up, and now he's got a little bit more energy than us. He's probably taking the stage. We're just going to go for the fastest time at this point. I think jumping to here, I've calculated that I can get a 0.33 turn as opposed to a 0.44 if I lay off a bit. Weber, Weiss might have us too. We're dropping 0.4 of a turn to Weber, which is a surprise to me. I didn't think he had such an effort in him. We do take third on the stage. 0.16 to Weiss, but we are at least going to be able to regroup. I underestimated the value of the peloton earlier in the stage. It's not a fatal error, thankfully. We're going to have more chances to fight, unlike some of the stragglers who might get bopped by the time limit. Most of them did get bailed out by the peloton entity also being out of energy. They were crawling up this final climb 30 turns down. Have you ever seen such a large gap on a single stage? Have to get through this stage first before I'm feeling fully comfortable, but I actually don't mind my position in the race because Weber's probably going to lose time on a more typical mountain stage, and Weiss still needs to get over the cobbles and the time trial in the final week. Ended up being a pretty tame stage in the end. I guess everyone else was just as tired as us. I'm once again going to be the last team to put my riders to the front, which is going to help me save some strength for the next stage, but it isn't going to do much about my chances of winning. We only take third place again. But on the note of gaining time on Weber, this is a juicy opportunity because Weber's flat rating doesn't help him save attack over us, because it's not going to matter if Weber has more energy than us if he runs out of attack points first. And also, this first climb was a little bit too long to be jumped in a single turn, so Herman has not lost attack points, and we didn't need to drop out of the peloton in order to save anything. Okay, guess we're not stopping at the foot of the climb like civilized people. They want to go maximum speed right from the offset. And that unfortunately means I'm using attack to move Watson up because we can't wait. The peloton only having a 6-5 means they're probably going to get attacked over. See, I had judged that we were 35 nodes away from the foot of the climb. That was an obvious two-turner to me. And on that presumption, you can stay in P3 because you then move into P2 the turn before the foot and P1 at the foot. But now, because the relay went into the mountain immediately without giving me a chance to move up, I'm having to ride a lot more defensively than I otherwise would. That being said, it was perfectly fine for me to be a leech because Grassi was pulling for Herman Weiss, and now I can position myself at the front because I don't think there's going to be much slipstream. No, it's only a -3 slipstream for the entire move. I think I am giving them a fair bit of a pull here, so we get sprinted over. On the plus side, they did have to use some of their attack points to go over me. And in the process, the first 3 all gained 0.19 of a turn on Webber. So we're still very much in contention for this yellow jersey. And we can potentially do more damage in the second week with these back-to-back mountain stages. In the meantime, we have a couple of relatively easy stages to finish the episode. This was another stage where my rivals moved up super early, but this time it is going to work against them because I get this move up without needing to use attack anyway. And the previous move had also been without attack for Watson at least, although it wasn't the case for Ward or Pavlov. Had a feeling someone was going to attack. But the important thing is that I forced one of our main rivals to make that attack. You didn't need to go into the technical sector though. You could have stopped one node short. And you know, the huge thing for us here is that Webber's done that and not brought Weiss along with. We drop out of the relay. And maybe we're a bit far out to actually gain a ton of time on Weiss. But we've given it a go at least. And we're actually going to get the time gain because there was no one left to relay who was willing to relay. Could have played cat and mouse for the stage win here, but we needed to bring Watson to the front to actually solidify our time gain. And if that means losing out on stage points, so be it. Sean Watson takes the stage. And the final gap to our rival Herman, 0.28 of a turn, which means we move up into second place. I'd much rather be ahead of Weiss and behind Webber than the other way around. Like I said, I think there are more chances for us to gain time on Webber, and him winning stage 4 was more of a freak occurrence than the usual. And this stage, not particularly exciting. Maybe something will happen on these technical sectors late, but it's still flat. Nah, nothing happened. Only rider we had available for the sprint that wasn't Watson is Bruno, so I'm going to have him attempt the stage win. I'm not expecting much unless we pull off a stage 2-esque fluke, especially since Bruno only has 6 attack per turn, which is even worse than Pavlov's 7. Nah, Bruce Phillips able to win the stage from the front. Weiss took 4th in the sprint in the end? Well, I suppose he does have 8 attack per turn, so he is surprisingly good at those sprints. And that concludes the first week. Not exactly the position I would have preferred. I would have liked to have taken the yellow jersey already, but stage 4 didn't go right for us. I reckon we can still claim it by stage 10 or 11 and see it through to the end. Maybe pick up a couple more stage wins along the way.